The Midnight Academy with Dr. Heather Lynn.
Have you here? I'm so excited because
I
you
am so
literally
excited.
bringing the magic.
I am so excited to be here too. Thank you so much, and I'm really looking forward to our chat.
So you're a magician.
I am a magician.
You're a magician. Do you? So is it real magic?
I use my magic for only good.
Oh, okay, good, good. So
No,
not
but
black magic.
no. It's just entertainment.
Just entertainment.
It's just entertainment. There's a disclaimer. It's just entertainment.
But you have had
But
some paranormal experiences.
I have had some true magic in my life. Yes,
Is that
and
what got you into doing the magic?
it kind of goes hand in hand. Now, there's theories out there that magicians, stage magicians mainly, as they fake it, stuff starts to manifest and they can really read minds. So there's theories out there. So it kind of goes hand in hand. I was into magic before all these events happened, but as I got older, there's more and more things, and perhaps my parents could probably tell you even before then. But I remember fourth grade being kind of it was 1988. It was a cold January, and I was in a classroom, and we had to do these different projects where we had to choose synonyms, I believe they're called, like hot-headed. I chose. Okay, so we had to draw these papers, and I chose hot-headed, and I was drawing this fire, and then, unbeknownst to me, believe it or not, my house was on fire at that same time. So yeah.
Oh my
So
god.
that's kind of a weird synchronicity. I mean, or precog, if you will. I don't know, but I would say that would be the earliest time that you know. And it was kind of a bad, obviously a bad scene thing, but it was odd, that I was doing this and this event was going on as I was doing it. So that would
Wow.
see, yeah, it was very spooky as I look back on it.
And sometimes some of the research out there says that trauma can bring out, especially in children, can bring out some of those extrasensory perception abilities and that
Mm,
sort of thing. So, I
wow.
mean, having a house fire like that would definitely be, a catalyst, I think, for maybe more, more strange,
Yeah,
if that's
it,
maybe the
it
first memory you have of that.
I'm trying to think. Like I said, we kind of go all overboard here, but um, definitely that was the first psychic type of premonition, if you will, or like a precog of what was going on. And I was in school and I didn't know, and I was drawing this. It could have been just a synchronicity too, but it meant more to me. And some of these things, like I said, I'm not here to prove anything to anybody. Obviously,
Hmm.
I'm just these are true experiences that I just lived. And I just wanted to share. So I was really excited to do that. Another thing that kind of falls in the realms of around that time when I was a little later in middle school, I was doing magic, and it was a Redskin review, and you had 5 minutes, and it was a timed exact. You wouldn't be on the show if it wasn't 5 minutes. And of course, I was just learning magic, so I wasn't like make stuff, professional where I could just make stuff off the cuff. I left the trick at home, and I was like, "Oh, this is terrible. There's no way I can fill this 5 minute span." And all of a sudden, a stagehand backstage comes up to me, and this was a trick with a domino. So it was like this cardboard thing, and there was a whole routine. He said, "Is this what you're looking for?" And he gave me a professional metal, big David Copperfield style version of it. And he was like, "I found it in the back here." And I'm like, "This isn't it, but it'll work." What is that? Is that a manifestation? I started looking
Oh,
into it later and
yeah.
learned about apports, and I'm like, wow, you know. And so those were a
Wow.
couple when I was really young type of experiences that I had doing, that.
So
So
when you got into it, because I remember, because full disclosure, I've known you for a long time.
you
You're
have
my cousin.
from my mom, Tammy.
Oh, What is this? Oh
That's
my
you.
gosh.
So
Look
maybe
at
I'll send that
that.
to you and you can post,
That's
you know,
that's so funny.
that's you. Yeah, so I had to share that with you and kind of embarrass you a little bit there.
That's
So.
awesome. Yeah, always have
Spoiler
cat
alert,
days.
listeners, our moms are sisters. Okay, all
This is
right.
my cousin.
All right.
So yeah, I know that you have been into magic for quite a long time, and I just have. I always thought that, oh, that's a fun little thing for kids to do, and but you took it to the
Yeah.
next level. You
Well,
really went into it. You just kept going and doing all these amazing things and doing different shows, and you're all over the place doing shows too, and you travel and do different, performances for different audiences, corporate events, and and you were working with at-risk youth or something like that in the community. Is that it?
yes, it was the Allen County area, JDC. So yeah, it was a Christmas thing. It was a couple months ago, but it was real fun. Yeah. But there's events that happen when you do the magic too. Um, I remember specifically, and this is a crazy story. Uh, it was
I love
down in
crazy
down
stories.
Dayton. It was great. This
It's
is
the
crazy.
best.
This is down like in Dayton, Ohio. This old lady wrote me, and this is so obscure because usually I have an agency and it's all electronical that they get a hold of me and I book and everything, as you might know. But this old lady wrote me like snail mail, and
Old
wrote me
school.
letters and yeah, like a year in advance. Like
Huh.
I'm like, wow, she wanted posters and so I photoshopped some posters and sent them to her. And it was like a whole year of these letters. Well, it was a church. So I went down there, performed the show, and there's a trick and illusion in my stage show called stalker letters, where random people in the audience pick various items, colors, various things. It's just totally random. And and then I finally get the last guy up to proofread. I have these letters that are sealed, and I open it up, and it's a letter, and it's kind of an ad lib, kind of a funny thing, but each thing in the letter, this guy's proofreading is in the letter. Each random thing that these guys have said is in this letter that was sealed, that was sent, and so it's pretty astonishing. And I specifically remember this show because I had a little old lady come up after the show, and she was crying, and I'm like. And she said, "How did you know?" And I'm like,
Oh
"What?"
my gosh.
And yeah, so they pick a color. The lady picked red. They pick a piece of apparel. The guy said, and this is all random people said sweater, and then they pick a body part. It gets a little weird, stalker letters. And this one guy said aorta, and then a 3-digit number, and then the guy comes up and all that. And it's funny. Well, the little old lady, her husband wore a red sweater, had an operation on his aorta,
No
and the
way.
3-digit number was their house number. And that day was his death day. And this was in a church.
Oh. Oh, you really messed her up
Yeah,
then, huh?
yeah, I'd like to take credit for that one, but no.
So how do you explain it? I mean, if you're going out there and you're admittedly doing just entertainment magic, what is your explanation for that? How did that happen?
Something that, worked through these random people to say these things randomly because it's real quick. Think of a
Yeah.
color, red. They throw a ball and it goes somewhere else, and I have no explanation for that. I don't. But that's real magic, and it's a
You
little
know,
higher than what my grade is. But
yeah, well, it's fascinating because I'm familiar with tarot and that sort of thing. And I used to
oh
fiddle
yeah,
around with that when I was younger. And it's fun. And I've seen some people do it and it kind of elicits a response. And it's just fun in games. Like I would say a trick. Some people are better at it than others. But over time, after I studied things like Jungian psychology and whatnot, I started, and then of course the occult and
hmm
all of this, I started realizing that what was going on there with that tarot was sort of a prototype of psychology. So
really,
those images are made with archetypes in mind, and you look at those things, and something's going to resonate with everybody when they look at those cards because all of the archetypes kind of reside in us. So
yeah,
you're bound to have something sort of come out. And so if the person dealing with the card, if they put that out there and then they can kind of gauge and feel that response and they get that person to share and almost like a therapy session that ends up happening. And this was before, therapy. This was before Freud. This was before all of that. And I think what sometimes people do is they're unintentionally being magicians. Like these,
Oh,
because things like the archetypes and are
mhm.
unconscious, that seems magical because
It
it's
does.
so I think there might be something that gets tapped into, like maybe a collective unconscious or something like that, and the
Yeah.
magician or the tarot card reader is just maybe a conduit for that.
Yeah, that could be. Do you feel that way with mediumships? Like, because I've done a couple of those, and it's like sometimes it feels like you're grasping for it to
Hmm.
make sense to you, but sometimes not. There's some really, crazy
I
things with
think
them.
clearly some people are, just like snake oil salesman, but other
Sure, sure,
people, I
sure.
think that if they're trying their best to give it a real kind of go, I think
Mhm.
what they may be tapping into, because I've seen it work and it's really crazy.
Yeah,
Like, you're like, well, how do they know this? And
yeah.
again, you can train people to ask a series of leading questions and, trick them.
Sure, cold reading.
Right. But sometimes some people just
Oh yeah.
have it. And so I think maybe they're very in touch with something at a deeper spiritual level, emotional level, and they're tapping into this collective unconscious, and maybe they're able to actually do it. But I think it's rare, you know,
It
but I
is
think
rare,
it's
yeah.
possible. I've seen some strange things, but kind of like a Ouija board. You know how everybody
Yeah,
like Ouija board, just
it
a
is.
toy and whatever. But,
Right.
I've seen some weird things happen with that
I,
too. That,
I have, yes. And you almost have to believe in it, I
yeah.
think. Because some people that didn't, was not believing in it, it doesn't work. You have to be open-minded with it, I believe.
Yeah.
At least the times that I've messed with it. I remember with my ex, uh, it really moved so fluent, and I'd say, take your hands off. And she'd take her hands off, and it felt like I was pulling it, and I'm like, wait a minute. And then, but it's like something working through us. I also remember when we did this experiments, uh, we kept seeing, we were at this riverside, it was a little apartment, and we kept seeing something jump down the steps, like out of the corner of your eye. It was like a little white ball, if you will. People would come over and say, "Do you guys have a cat?" And we'd be like, "No." So it was just, one time we were laying on the couch, bounced over us, and I'm like, "Oh!" I jumped up, because it was like literally. So we did the Ouija board, and it started to answer stuff very strangely, like uh, it was like questions we wouldn't, or answers we wouldn't normally think about. We asked where it was. You always
Oh,
think
that's a
like,
good question. Like,
yeah,
where? Yeah, that's because that's weird. Like, where
yeah,
is it?
where are you? And we
Ooh.
assumed it was going to say, yeah, like another dimension or whatever.
Yeah.
But it went to the number 4, and we were like, what? And then it
What?
spelled S, and then T, and then E. It said fourth step.
Ooh, God.
So
It's like,
I was like,
oh
ah,
no, no.
oh
Oh
man. And then my
no.
brother called. He was in Florida with his friends, and we were like, let's try this. Hide something in the room, in this. And he did. And he had a pack of cigarettes or whatever. And as soon as they were left to do it, it started to do its thing, and it was spelling bathroom. And we were like, in the bathtub, in the bathroom, and they were screaming.
My
I
gosh.
mean, I don't know how it works, but it does. It's impressive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's so impressive that even our government maybe doesn't use a Ouija board, but
Right?
through remote viewing and all of the research
Oh,
there,
yeah,
it's there
definitely.
is something, credible to this idea of being able to have a connection with something from afar. It's not completely outlandish.
It's not. Remote viewing is something that I tried out of necessity. I lost my wallet, and
Mm.
yeah, and I was like, I need to find it, So, and I was studying. I have a couple books from Russell Targ, and
Oh
you
yeah.
know, of course, Coast to Coast, and they always talk about it. And I'm like, I'm just gonna clear my mind. I'm gonna settle the chatter,
Yeah.
kind of. And I did, and I drew this thing, and which it was at first I thought it was a door frame. Your analytical mind starts to
Mm.
guess where it's at, but you're not
Yeah.
supposed to even do that. It's like the worst thing. But so I thought it was a door frame and this and that, and then but it turned out to be something. And I told my wife, I said, wherever my wallet is, I don't know where it's at, but it's here. And I showed her the picture, And as soon as we walked up, I looked to the right. We were coming up from downstairs in my house. And all of a sudden, I was at the right angle. And sure enough, the very corner of that picture where I drew some netted stuff, it was at like a right angle. That's exactly in the basket where the wallet was in that corner. I looked down,
Wow.
I said, no way. And there it was. And I was like, I mean, I get goosebumps talking about it right now, but it
So
was
did
great.
you continue practicing remote viewing? Because I mean,
I,
lotto tickets, hello.
right.
You gotta
Well,
hone that
there's
craft.
right, exactly. So yeah, so I thought, well, this maybe worked because it was a personal item, something
Yeah.
I did lose and I needed it.
Hmm.
So I was like, this time I'm going to take an item that doesn't matter. And I said,
Mm.
I'm going to give it to my brother and just hide it somewhere in your house. So I knew what it was. It didn't mean much. And he did. And that was the little turtle. And that was the second thing. He hid it in a little box and he put it on top of in a ladder. And I had no clue where he was going to put in the box or in the ladder or anything. And I almost say with the drawing I sent you is very, very close. There's steps, there's boxes that have squares with the box had a design. So I think there's a connection. I think space and time is an illusion. And
Mm.
and it's like we can actually tap into that stuff and do some amazing things. Now with lottery numbers, those are associative remote viewing is really where that comes in place. And
Mm.
I've dabbled with it. It just seems a little harder with numbers. I don't know.
Yeah. I think, I mean, what I've read is that it's just hard, period, that you really have to practice and, you know,
Right.
dedicate a lot of time and energy. And, Ingo Swann was, what did he reach at? He claimed, what was it, 63%, 69%, something like that, accuracy at one point, and he had
Yeah.
a real skill
Right.
for it. So,
Love that
yeah,
penetration book.
oh yeah, oh yeah, that is a very amazing book. I kind of looked into some of that for the book that I'm putting out at the end of this month, Final Frontier, because remote viewing
Nice.
on different planets and this sort of thing, like
Oh
the
wow. Yeah.
because if you were to do if theoretically if you were to look for proof of extraterrestrial civilizations on other planets, it's really
Mhm.
hard to do that when we can't get there right now. And
Right.
so there's other ways that we could do that, and one of those ways could be remote viewing. A
I
little
think so.
controversial, but I
Yeah.
mean,
Right.
Ingo Swann
They
found
put a lot of money in it.
they did, yeah, the Russians
Mm.
as well. I mean, and now the
Yeah.
Chinese, and for a while the Chinese too, but they're still doing it.
I
So
heard they found Saddam with it. I don't know if that's true, but
I heard that too. I heard Osama bin Laden. I hear they're just,
oh,
who knows?
so
They won't tell us, will they?
no, they won't. Do you think there's stargates over there in Iraq?
I
That
don't know,
that
but I'll tell you, it's my research is pointing towards, and this is weird. This is something I don't really get into a lot because I'm not sure. I don't want to make a claim, but I'm really leaning toward the idea based on that information that there's some sort of free energy technology,
oh yeah,
some knowledge that the ancients had that gave them access to some sort of Tesla style energy,
sure,
that sort
yeah.
of thing. And so that's about all I
Right.
can, divulge at that point because I'm still
Isn't
gathering
does this
intel.
have anything to do with your Egypt trip? Maybe, perhaps.
With it.
We'll wait that for later. Okay, we'll
Yeah.
wait for the book to come out.
Yeah. So got a lot of research in that direction. So who knows, but
Yeah,
there's so
right.
maybe there's something there. So it's hard to say. And I think there's a lot of people who know, but then they also there's factions that kind of are going against each other a little bit. And
Sure.
so there's misinformation, disinformation, and
Yeah.
some people who think they're onto it and then they're going. And I think there's just a lot
Yeah.
of vested interests, a lot of corporate interests too. Strangely, I found that out. Do you know
Oh
they're
well.
using artificial intelligence to translate Sumerian cuneiform tablets?
Oh really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I thought that was kind of
Never
cool-ish.
thought of that. That is. I
But then
mean,
I followed the money and I saw,
yeah.
okay, so the PR, like the press releases and things come out and they make it look like it's this like cute little graduate school project and we're
Mhm.
going to research this. But what you find is when you follow that money, where the few universities are getting their money, it's like something basic like the National Endowment for the Humanities. But then where are they getting their money? It's a one global organization the transatlantic platform.
Oh, the transatlantic. Yes, I've heard of
Yes. So what they're
it.
doing is it's that they're the ones who are funding all of this research, funneling it through different grant governing bodies in every other country, then giving it out to the universities. So, they're all in the same. So then it makes me wonder, well, what do they want with the cuneiform tablet information? Do
Yeah.
they actually want to glean information from them, or do they want to rewrite the narrative?
Right. Yes.
So
Exactly.
it feels like there's meddling involved, and that there's not,
Yes.
enough public engagement. It's sort of put out to us like, oh, how cool. We're going to use robots to help us read the tablets. It's like, wow, that
Right.
sounds fun. And they're going to
Yeah.
start telling us like revisionist history or something. And it's like, oh,
Oh,
yeah. So it's interesting how people are always looking for something in the past that could give them some sort of power, right? The Nazis did
yeah.
that. And as we all know,
Yes. You're right.
you've gone through a lot of
Yeah.
interesting paranormal things. And I think it's so fascinating how some people, like, I'm not really an experiencer per se. I've not had
Mhm.
any real experiences. I've had a few things that were strange happen. Okay. But
Mhm.
for the most part, I think sometimes uh, some people just draw that out,
Yeah. They say
like their whole
musicians,
lives.
artists
Mm,
sometimes have that. And maybe that's something to go with something. I remember writing a
yeah.
song once and we were talking about tapping into stuff. And I wrote the song and I called it Gasoline, right? With the S was a dollar sign. And
Mm,
it had this riff. And I was like, I loved it. I was like, this is awesome. Started writing lyrics. So the drummer came over and he was like, I hope you're playing Gasoline. And I'm like, because I didn't tell anybody anything.
that's weird.
Here is Seether's song called Gasoline, and it's the same riff. I kid you not. I YouTubed it right there, and it blew my mind. And I'm like, wow. I never
Wow.
heard a song in my life. It was crazy.
That is
So,
crazy. But yeah, but yeah, like you mentioned, you're a musician too. You kind
yeah,
of do a lot of everything. Like
I
definitely
do.
magical. So, but between actually performing magic and playing guitar in a
They're
band.
close. They are really close. Music and magic, it's
Hmm.
about timing and it's about controlling the moment, and it's very close to the same type of astonishment. It's different though, when you do music, everybody plays guitar, and magic's a little bit more unique. So
Hmm.
that's why I've kind of leaned that way. But I still play every day almost, and write music and record and all that. And one of the times I was recording, this is probably the biggest event in my life, and I have no explanation of what it was. Was that when I lived at home in my parents' house, and I was in the basement. I was getting into the mood and getting into the music, and I just took it to another level where I had to step out for a little while, and I was just like, I got to get some fresh air. So I went outside, and then I was trying to kind of come back to reality, because sometimes with music you drift in your mind, you almost like channel almost.
Yeah. The
And
flow. The
yeah, very
flow.
slow, and you're not even thinking about it sometimes, and you're writing music. Anyways, so I went outside to kind of get a bit of fresh air, and I was in a really deep moment, and it was an complete overcast day, like gray sky from horizon to horizon. And I was outside and I was digging these stones my dad had, just to kind of like calm down and get back to reality. And all of a sudden I heard this rumble in the sky, and it sounded like rolling thunder. And it came from we live by that woods,
Hmm.
and it came from the big oak tree. And all of a sudden, in the complete overcast gray, there was a little hole that was about the size of a basketball opening through the sky, and it was moving towards me. And it opened up slowly, and it was about the size of a small baby pool. It stopped, and I was in the middle of this circle of light.
What
No explanation.
happened?
I don't know,
What
nothing.
happened
I
after
just I
that?
cried. I cried like a baby. I
I
was like,
why don't blame
yeah,
you.
I didn't even know. I
Oh
mean,
my
I
gosh.
just
Did
and it
you
moved
lose?
on.
Did you
It moved on. It just sucked back together and moved on. I don't know
did
what
you
it
lose
was.
time?
No, I didn't lose time. I didn't lose time, but I was almost feel I was kind of having a panic attack. So I
Oh,
almost feel that maybe it was a fear indie, what they call fear, where you're so panicky that something's going to happen, like if you were going to
yeah.
die. And
Wow.
so I don't know what it was. It was definitely a higher power. To me, now I know there's something else. I mean, it's not a belief anymore with after that event. I mean, it was that real. And
Wow.
yeah, there wasn't any kind of communication. There was like a subtlety. There was a subtle thought that came into my mind that it was kind of a humor. It like kind of laughed at me.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
fascinating.
Well, yeah, it was like, oh, he's not dying.
Wow. It's like it reminds me of accounts that people have had with like trickster entities.
Yeah,
Sometimes
like James or what do
yeah,
they
like
call?
and then sometimes people like if they do DMT or something,
Yeah,
they go and they see the clockwork elves and the machine elves and they usually are jokey with them, sometimes make fun of them, just
yeah,
like laugh and
forest
weird.
energy. Yeah, it is
Yeah.
strange. I mean, I don't know. There's been back in that woods has been kind of strange, and around my mom and dad's house, that whole 75, there's been accidents like Kiss's tour truck like flipped over, and there's been suicides and deaths, and I started to add all these things up and UFO sightings and Bigfoot stuff, and I'm like, man, what is going on? I started to put you know print out a map and put dots where all these events were. I started going back into history records and trying to find newspaper articles, and I wonder if it's like ley lines, or something. Because we had a couple Bigfoot in that same woods that was just, this was way back in the 80s, kind of dated me a little bit, but I was young and we heard this little baby cry. That was the first.
Oh, that's
We've had a
spooky.
couple, yeah, we've had a couple things happen, but it was this little baby crying and moving through the woods. And we heard, and it was spooky. It's sounded like somebody carrying a baby. So we called the neighbors because there's a log cabin back there and they didn't have anybody over. And then about 5 years later, about every 5 years, we had some strange thing happen. But the strangest one that happened was these coon dog hunters, like stopped in our, parked on the street, and we heard, light flashlights, and they were running through the woods. And we were like, I mean, we didn't know. I mean, guys don't do that without permission around here, and we were like,
Yeah.
so they got all the way back to the tracks, probably, I don't know, several acres back in there. And we heard this ungodly roar. And I'll try to redo, but it was like, and then we heard these saplings, and it was like something was barreling through the woods. And I mean, we flipped out. I was probably about 13 at the time. My brother heard it. We woke my parents up. We were like screaming, and they were like, "Get to bed!" They were freaking out. My dad got his gun out, thinking somebody broke in. And that was about a year later. My dad sat me down. He was like, "Hey, Russ," he's like, "I didn't want to tell you this, but we heard that too that night." Yeah, and he's like, and about 10 years later on Coast to Coast, in the late 90s, a guy called up on a Bigfoot show from Bellefonte, Ohio. He says, "We call this Ohio Grassman." And he had a recording, and it was that same scream. I was like, oh my God.
Oh my gosh. It
Yeah.
sounds like
So,
you live over at like a Skinwalker Ranch and
well,
it's like all
it
these
might,
different things happening. That's spooky. I had
it is
no
spooky out there.
idea.
It is spooky out there, you
Oh my
know.
gosh.
Now, I only had, I mean, as far as UFOs and aliens, not much. I have had a couple sightings. He saw a classic. My brother filmed, and I tried to get a copy. He can't find it right now, but he's going to, and I'll send it to you. It's an orb that's floating, and it's a fireball type thing in the sky. It's amazing. But the only real experience I had as an alien, now this was years later. I was married in my basement, and I kept waking up, and I know this could be a bodily thing. You might know this being a doctor. Um, but it seemed like I was waking up and time was stopped, like the TV, and nothing was moving and it was frozen. And as I started to slowly wake up, you'd hear it wind up like a turntable, and then it would be like, and I started having these experiences. Well, one day I woke up, I kid you not, and this is 100, on a stack of Bibles. I could tell you this is 100% true. And and it was not a dream. I woke up on the couch. I couldn't move, obviously, sleep paralysis of some type. And I looked over and I saw an alien entity. Now, it's not what you would normally think, like gray or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It was a see through body of electric body, if you will. It was a kind of reminds you of Tron, where they have the little lights everywhere. I could see
Yeah.
it was not a physical mattered body. It was electrical. It was tall and it was stepping away from my wife sleeping. It looked at me. I couldn't move, but I had no fear.
Hmm.
And we had a big screen TV, like a Philips 70-inch, kind of the old projector style, but it was still a big screen. He looked at me and stared. He stepped back. He put one foot into the TV, his other foot into the TV. He like reset back. He was in the TV. And it was like if you swiped with your finger, his whole image was like, and I read in a book where I forget, I think it was I often remember the name. I think it was a Message from Outer Space. It's an old book where he met aliens, and the aliens told him in this book, you're really close to teleporting. You've already doing it with images and lights through television. Why did you guys stop? And I was like, wow, I read that. I was like, man, that is just, it was real. And I was awake the whole time after that. I mean, I didn't go back to sleep, obviously, but
Wow.
it was definitely weird. And I've tried to study. And if I know you go to conventions, and if you hear anything about portals through TVs like that, let me know,
Portals. I
because
I will. I have a couple ideas. Maybe I'll kick around and see what I can find because that's interesting and
it's
scary. Now
it is.
I'm gonna have nightmares after talking to you. Thanks.
So-
You have scary
all right,
experiences. It's like, oh my gosh. But what's interesting is that in some of those cases, you're saying you don't have the fear. Like in some case, you did have fear, and in others, you don't. So it's like
yeah. And
that's
this is I
interesting.
was younger. Okay, some of
Hmm.
these were like the hole in the sky was probably like maybe 20 or 19, or
Hmm.
but this was the alien experience was maybe like 15 years ago. So it wasn't that. I was an older guy, and I've studied aliens and stuff like that, and but I had some experiences with this is kind of a strange one, a ghost dog. I kid you not. I don't know if you've heard of this. I was looking up like hellhounds and all kinds of things
I
because
mean,
this
I've heard
thing,
of ghost cats. Strangely enough, there's a lot of accounts of that, and I think I have there are a lot of animal kind of sightings like that. So, but they're kind of all related. I mean, it sounds like a stretch to say like something like an apparition or some sort of dog or
yeah,
strange
I don't
Tron
know
kind
what
of
it.
figure.
Yeah,
But, you've heard of Whitley Strieber, I would imagine, right? I mean,
sure.
his accounts are very similar in those ways. They're not always conventional like what we would think of in a movie,
Yeah.
even though his book,
The
sort of contributed
communion.
to our ideas. Yes,
Mhm.
they contributed to our ideas of what an alien would look like. But,
Yeah.
he talks all the time about the visitors being in various different forms,
Now let
and
me tell you,
they're
his
strange.
face was a frown. I mean, if
Mhm.
you looked at him, you'd think evil. I mean, our human minds will.
Right.
I mean, and he had all this. It was kind of like a Draco style. It had like all these like
Like bumps and
goggles and
nubs.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you would see on an alligator, but it was
Mhm.
all digital. It was all like a line. It was like see through. It was like an electrical body. It's like he was an
That sounds
electrical.
interdimensional. It
Yeah,
sounds
I
like
mean,
when
it really
people say
was. It
that,
was
that sounds
totally interdimensional. I mean, I agree. That's 100%.
that's so
And this
weird.
ghost dog thing that I saw, we were driving down 501, and there was this area where there's been a lot of people that died. They have put lights up. There's still people that died. There's people that got in an accident and died, just a couple summers ago. It's the same area. I thought it was a deer. It was huge. I grabbed the wheel because my wife was driving, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "There's a deer," and it was coming. I mean, we were, and I looked. I said, "Wait a minute, it's not a deer," and it was. It looked like cloud material. Now it was a humid summer night. it looked like if you took brush and you brushed a huge, like a dog, like an ears. There was no distinct features, but you could see like a very swift, fluid, cloud-like material. You could see through the middle of it, and it was running full speed. We looked at it directly, both of us, for about 10 seconds as it crossed the road. And there was lights coming this way, and it flooded the lights. So there must have been some kind of density to it. I don't know. But it went right through. Now, I kid you not, 15 years later, which was 2000, I'm going to say 2022, March 14th, actually, I wrote it down on my calendar. A couple years ago, I was driving that same spot. All of a sudden, the Cadillac started honking its horn at me. And I'm like, what the heck? Why are you honking at me? Well, he was honking at the animal there. On the other side was, I saw just a glimpse of this time it was kind of a brownish, but it was like a blur. So he was flipping out thinking this thing was gonna, run out of the mill. So I saw it again, the same spot. So I don't know. It's a weird spot there, but like I said, people's died there. And I mean, it's been a tragic area.
Oh my gosh.
And just like Crybaby Bridge, that's not too far away, and I did some EVP recordings. And of course
So
I
where is
did.
that?
I
Where is
sent you that file.
okay.
Crybaby Bridge is it's kind of there's a couple of them actually now,
I
mind you.
thought I've heard that, yeah,
Yeah.
before.
St.
But the one where
Mary's.
you are, it's like the real one.
Well, everybody's got the
I
real
know.
one, but yeah.
I'm saying, right.
But
The
St.
real.
Mary's put a plaque up. They put a
Right,
plaque up
right.
by theirs,
Oh wow.
maybe something happened there. I don't know. But this is over the way. It's by Cridersville. It's 75, like a little south of Lima, a little north of Dayton for about an hour. And it basically, it's just a bridge that was blown up. There was a lot of graffiti on the bridge, and they left it blown up for a while, and then they finally fixed it. And it's out in the middle of nowhere, and so you go out there, and I brought a little recorder with me, and I was like, is there anyone here? And but the recording I did send you, and I do have a couple other ones, was probably the best one. It was the second time I went with my wife. So it was just me and her in the car. And I say, let's stop on the bridge over here. We'll try it. This was before we even got out of the car and tried to do the EVP, right?
Yeah.
There is a second voice in there. And I kid you not, when you listen to it, you'll hear me talking and you'll hear a second voice, and it's whispering, and it says, yeah, stop on the bridge.
No. Well, we're gonna go ahead and play that right
Okay,
now.
sounds good. Yeah, excellent.
Location number 1 approaching, approximately 50 yards. Stop right on the bridge. And I'm going to get out on the bridge. Coming up to it, and session begin.
So yeah, it was
Oh my
very
gosh.
spooky. Very spooky. Yeah.
Totally.
I know, right?
You're gonna
And
give
it
me
did.
nightmares now. I don't
Well,
think
I'm
I did not.
sorry.
I thought we were gonna have a rabbit out of a hat and
Well,
some
we
cute
could
things
use some
like
of
that,
that.
and now I'm gonna have nightmares.
I know it. I know it. I'm sorry. It's
Oh my
just the
gosh.
truth.
But
One other.
that's you've had so many of these experiences. I can't help but think that, maybe you're one of those people
Well,
where
I had one with
that
Aunt Tammy. And I
oh
kid you
my
not.
gosh.
Now missing time, right? This was
Yeah.
a little different. We woke up. We were 5 minutes late. She was driving me to school, and she's like, "Get up, get up!" We ran. We saw 7:55, and we were running. I had to be there at 8. We got down a quarter of a mile down the road, same area still. We kind of phased out. The best way I can describe it is we felt like we woke up. She was still driving, and I saw her lift her head off her wheel, and we didn't really say much. And we went to to drop me off. Well, we stopped at a gas station. We were an hour early. We went back home, and our watches have both stopped at the same time. And I actually got regressed. I thought there was some kind of, uh, uh, you know, alien something going on there. But
Yeah.
It kind of came to me that it could have been a time slip, like a natural, uh, thing, a natural Earth anomaly that we just don't know about that we can step into, and it alters time, like portals and people go missing, that whole 411 stuff, 411.
Yeah.
I think it was something like that, it was really crazy.
That is pretty crazy. And I want to just point out too for anyone listening, because it's just like crazy story after crazy story. And, I want to point out that the reason that, we're talking about this is because you're not necessarily a crazy person, and your family, my family is not,
Yeah.
they're not the type of people that would make these things up. Is so what I'm
Right,
saying. So
right.
there's, I'm saying this is really interesting to me because, like Aunt Tammy, she's not going to sit and tell tall tales about aliens or missing time or all
Exactly.
of that. So it's so fascinating to me to think that, you have all these experiences, and it's like, I just can't help but like feel that there's a Skinwalker Ranch vibe going on over at your house,
Could
like
be.
in
I
that
mean,
area. I don't know
yeah,
if
I
it's the
don't know.
area or if it's the family, like where something, because
Yeah,
sometimes it sticks and it goes
yeah.
and follows you
Follows
through
you.
life.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So I don't
People.
know, but you've had a lot of experiences.
It's
What do
been
you
crazy.
what do you think? What do you think the aliens are? Do you see you would obviously believe in aliens then?
I
I would.
do. I believe in them. I believe they're interdimensional, most of them, but
Mhm.
I think there might be some underground ones that are, uh, I question everything, obviously.
Yeah,
And one thing I found out, nothing is what it seems at
this is
all.
true.
Yeah. It's the greatest line ever. But, um, I mean, I heard one time, and you might know this, there was a Pentagon whistleblower that said that our government knows the Sumerian gods are coming back and they know when. I kid you not. And I don't know, you
Yeah.
probably know a lot
Yeah,
more
yeah.
about that than I do. I don't know if that
There's
was
some
just
publications too that it's
really
literally hidden in plain sight. If you go to CIA.gov and look for these, they're there. You can download them.
nice.
They're right there. You can read these. And some of them are redacted, but not as redacted as you'd think. Maybe they
Mhm.
think because it's such wacky information that people will think, wait a minute, I don't believe that. So it's something that they
Right.
they literally have on their website. And when I tell people that, they just can't hardly believe it. Like, go to the CIA and just do a search in their little like online library, and you'll see, yeah, there's
Wow.
a lot of things they're looking into, and that's what they're putting out there on the internet. So imagine the things that they're not.
Yes,
We don't have
exactly.
to imagine. We know some of the things that they're
Oh my
putting out
gosh,
there.
yeah.
Yeah. So
So I asked you to bring a deck of cards with you.
you did. And you know what? I don't play card. I ordered cards
Oh,
and
you did? Oh my
I did.
God.
I ordered some cards and I made sure they were like the most classic cards, like
Oh,
the
yeah. Well, I don't want to
bicycle.
see it. I don't want to
Oh,
look at
oh,
them.
no. And
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna just say to everybody, they're sealed. They're completely sealed. I've not opened these.
Perfect.
They're just right from
Excellent.
Amazon. Bicycle, old school playing cards.
I thought we'd try something in synchronicity as well as precog. So I actually brought a deck of cards with me as well, bicycle brand as well.
Cool.
And I'm going to try something here before we even begin. Uh, see, they're all there.
Mhm.
I'm going to try a little precog. So I want you to look in my third eye.
Okay.
I don't know about you. Here. Hmm. No, I'm going to go with this one. So I've got one that I think might mean something here, and I'm going to place this one card face down in the deck, and we'll give them a little bit of a mix and put them away here. And I will put that right here so it's totally visible. Okay, so now if you
Okay.
could take your cards out, open them up, and
Like I
and
said, these are fresh cards. I'm
fresh cards,
breaking the
awesome.
seal.
You're taking it real
So
seriously. Now I don't want to see the cards. You do
okay.
have a table or something in front of you. I would imagine.
Yes.
Take the jokers out
Oh,
too if you want.
yeah, yeah.
It's up to
Okay.
you. And then just give them a good mix. And I'm gonna kind of talk as you do that. That way,
Okay.
not really gonna say anything, but it's just gonna kind of cover up any kind of, and I don't hear any kind of riffling, so that means that you may be overhand
Spilled
shuffling.
them.
Oh, you spilled
They're
them.
getting
Perfect.
real mixed right
They
now.
are really, I tell you,
They're
brand
getting
new cards
mixed up, right?
That's the best way.
I'm not a card person, so I can hardly
No,
like.
that's all right.
I
That's
can
fine.
do
That's
a little
good.
shuffle thing. Like
They're very slippery. I do
they
know.
are slippery. I'm like about to drop them. Okay, good. I didn't. Okay, so they're all mixed up.
Perfect. Perfect.
Okay.
Now, lay them face down on the table, and I'd like you to cut the deck in half. Try to make them exactly about equal, if you could. Try to make them exactly about half. Oops.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I got two piles here.
Two piles, and they're about the same size. Choose any pile that you want,
Okay.
okay, and put it in your hands. Now, do you know honestly how many cards you're holding?
No.
So you don't know,
Just like
which would make it impossible for me to know. You don't even know.
don't freak me. Okay, yeah, I'd be
So I want you to go ahead and count them silently.
okay.
So you have a number, just count them, and I'm
There's a
gonna,
lot of them here. Okay.
well, you got about half, right? And just count them silently, and I'm going to talk nonchalant. Doesn't really mean anything. It's just to make sure that you have an exact secret number now. And so I can't hear anything. I'm just kind of over talking the silence to making sure that you have a number.
Okay. And I was like looking up and around so you didn't catch any kind of like,
Oh
subtle
yeah,
moves. So I'm trying to throw you
very
off there.
secret of you. Nice.
So I
Trying to
counted
see if you
them.
have any tells. Uh,
Yeah.
Now, so you're thinking of hopefully a two-digit number,
Mhm.
I would say. So let's make it even a special number. We're going to add those two digits together. So in this case, if you chose 21, you'd add 2 plus 1 and you have 3. So that's your
Okay.
secret number. So that secret, now if you could fan the cards to yourself so you're looking at them. So if your secret number was 1, the very first card, the face card, would be your card. If it was 3, it'd be 1, 2, 3. So go ahead and count down, but don't take the card out. Just count down, looking at the faces, and remember the card that's at your secret number. Okay.
Can look at these. So
Look at
I'm
those.
looking at them. Okay.
Yeah, look at those. And so the first one, the bottom one, the face card will be number 1 if you're thinking of number 1.
Okay.
But like I said in my example, 2 plus, so third card. So whatever. So you're looking at, don't take it out, but you do see the card. And
Mhm.
really lock it in your mind, because if you forget it, the next few minutes will be even more pointless than what they already
Okay.
Turn the cards face down and put them on top of the deck that's sitting on the table there. So you reassemble the deck.
Okay.
Okay, now go ahead and pick up the entire deck. You're doing such a good job with this, by the way. So do you know how many cards from the top down would be your card? I mean, there's no way that
Yeah, because I just put them all together. Yeah.
exactly.
So I don't
So
know.
there's really no way that I would know. So that's my point.
No.
So now comes the game. I'm going to ask you a series of questions,
Okay.
and you're going to either tell me the truth or lie to me.
Oh.
What
Okay.
makes the game good.
Oh yeah.
So, and you're going to spell one card for each letter, okay, onto the table. So, was your card red or black? Go ahead and say it out loud. Red or black?
Black.
Go ahead and spell out black. One card for each letter. BLACK.
BLACK. Okay.
Right. Next question. What was the suit? Was it a clubs, hearts, diamonds, spades? Once again, you could tell me the truth or lie to me. It's up to you.
Heart.
Would you like, now you said heart in a singular. Now, some people say the 2 of hearts, the 5 of hearts. I'll give it up to you. Do you want to keep it singular, or do you want to add that S?
We'll add an S.
Okay, let's
Because this
spell
could
it.
all be lies anyway. So
Well,
whatever.
it could be. Yeah, I don't even know. So go ahead and spell it right on top there. HEARTS.
So am I putting more cards down?
Yes, count them
Okay.
from the top down. Okay, so now you said hearts.
Okay.
Is it odd or even? You can tell me the truth or lie to me. It's up to you.
Even.
Okay, go ahead and spell out even then.
EVEN.
One card for each
There we
letter. Okay.
go.
And now the very final question.
Okay.
Was your answers true or lie? Once again, you can tell me the truth or lie to me.
Well, I guess they were technically a little bit of both, so I would say lies.
Okay, so spell out lie. L-I-E.
Okay. L-I-E.
Okay, now take the next card. Don't look at it.
Okay.
And hold it up in front of the camera for the first time so you can see it face down.
So it's face down.
What was your card?
My card was like the one that I initially picked from the very beginning.
The secret, yeah.
The secret was two well, oh shoot, I forgot because I had two cards. No.
Flip it over.
It was like it was this
flip over your card that you're holding.
The magic.
Is that it?
No.
Say yes. Say yes.
Yes. You're so magical.
That was amazing. I don't know how you did that. Now, remember the deck was here the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm going to open it up here. I'm going to stand up. Let's look closely here. Let's see that face down card. The face down card. Only one face down card.
Oh my gosh. No. No.
Well, you know.
I rebuke
there we go. In the name of Jesus.
What? Wait. I'm like, I don't know what to do now because that's crazy. Let me ask you this. This might have just been a total like an AI hallucination or something. But I seem to remember there being this like castle or something for magicians where it's like a guild where they get together. Does that still exist?
The Magic Castle in Hollywood, yes. Invite only and dress attire, yeah.
What do you think
it's still there.
there?
Yeah, they're still there.
Is it like a secret society? Is it like Eyes Wide Shut level, or is it just
no? Now there was a magician, one of my mentors that died there, and he
with the
rope, and they said there was some Eyes Wide Shut stuff going on. I don't know, but
oh no, I was just joking about that. That opened a whole can of worms.
No, but like that did happen there a little bit. I think.
No.
Unfortunately, he was a rope magician too. I got a lot of his rope magic DVDs and stuff.
Oh, that's kind of ironic.
Yeah. But he always performed there. Yeah, his name was Daryl. So, but yeah, they're still there. It's just it's a club. But you have to be invited to be there. But yeah, it's not anything. It's just all entertainment. They have a close-up room, a stage room, different formats, so you can see a lot of different things. So it's pretty cool.
Who's your magic idol? Is it like Houdini? Or
I have a couple of them. One of them I actually worked for a while. I couldn't believe it. Paul Harris. He's the magic consultant for David Blaine and Dave Copperfield. And I read his books through high school. These big, thick. And it was 2013-ish. He sent out he tried to find somebody that could do DVD authoring, and I do that. I taught it at school, and so I got with him. The project failed, but anyways, I worked with him. So he was my mentor, and he'd call me 80 times a day on Skype, and I'd tell him, I'd be like, Paul, I got a show Friday night. 8:00, just want to let you know, 7:55, I'm backstage waiting, boom, he's calling me, and I'm going to answer it, because he's, so that Paul Harris is one of them. David Williamson, he's from Yellow Springs. He's been on TV a lot. He's a comedian magician. He's really good. As far as old school guys, it's a golden era of magic. I would say Houdini probably, and Thorsten, he's from Ohio. A lot of magicians from Ohio. Which is kind of strange, but
that is strange.
So, of course, David Copperfield's always a classic guy, and he's been in the news lately. But
yeah, well,
he was supposed to make the moon disappear last month.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to that?
I don't know, but do you think you're ever going to explore doing anything huge like that, or? What would go into something like that? That seems
Grand Illusion. Yeah.
Grand Illusion. That's so wild.
I did build several Grand Illusions, and when I was younger, I had a dancer named Jenny Gross, and she ended up going to Vegas and becoming Steve Wyrick's magician assistant. And so her son now got a Disney show, Sorcerer of something Stone. But he's like one of the main stars. So she's out there now doing Vegas shows now. She became like a show designer, and she kind of bounced around, but now she's actually doing it. So yeah, and when I made her disappear on stage, that was the Redskin Review or the domino trick. That was an opening trick, but the last trick was this crate, and she got in it and disappeared in the fire, and it was fun. It worked out good. So I built a couple of those. A lady through a 1 inch hole. It was a crate that a girl like goes through a 1 inch hole, and then an artist's dream where she appears in a painting and rips through the canvas of an empty frame. And I did build a couple of them, but they're just, you gotta have a production, and it's like
Bet.
I didn't want to hire people, and so it's been fun just doing a one man thing for right now, and it's profitable, so it's fun. I bring it, astonishment to people, so that's always
Well, this is for sure. And I think that there's almost, in my view, something more special about it when it's maybe smaller, more intimate, as opposed to, look, I'm going to make the moon disappear. Because,
yeah,
or even something with like the box and you saw somebody in heaven, those are cool.
yeah,
But, it's almost like immediately, I'm really skeptical about a lot of things, believe it or not. But I
right,
look at those things and think, oh, well, you could just buy like some kind of special prop or
exactly,
something. But when you do like a card thing like this, it's different. So I
yeah.
think there's something really organic about that and maybe more astonishing because it's just like, how did you do that? What do you think of people who tell the secrets? That's a big no-no.
Yeah, there's been the mass magician. His name's Valentino. That came out. His theory was that he would expose the magic, and magicians would come up with new methods, and that's
Oh.
what his thing was. Well, it's really not about the method. If you really wanted
Mhm.
to see, it's kind of like sausage. Everybody likes to eat it, but they don't want to see what goes in it. And it's kind
Right.
of like magic, it deals with a tape and a wire, and you don't want to see that. It's more the experience, it's the
Yeah.
effect, that you worry about. So his logic of new methods, and didn't make sense to most of us. But yeah, a lot of people were upset at him, and but people watched it and got interested in magic too. So there was that. More
Mhm.
people got into it. It's a vanishing art. So
It
it's one
is.
of
I
those
don't
things.
see it around as much. I mean, other than the huge acts that, everybody
Right.
hears about, but I don't see it anywhere. I mean, I really
Mhm.
don't. I don't see anyone advertising for stuff like that. And I think that's too bad because
Mhm.
as an adult, especially, there's sometimes very little magic anymore. You've seen it all, right? It's hard to
Yes. Yes.
suspend disbelief. And, so when there
Yes.
is somebody that can astonish you, then
Right.
that's pure joy. It's like the magic of childhood, you know?
Exactly. Yes. That's
Yes.
what it is. A gift,
Yeah.
something to give.
Well, I'm glad you're out there doing it, and I hope you continue to do it.
I do. I plan to.
I don't know if you have more time, if you want to,
I
if you,
do. I
okay,
totally do.
because
Yeah.
I still wanted to hear about some of these paranormal, because you have more stories of
Well,
paranormal experiences.
I do. I tell you, and I don't know if you had any experiences when, and an unfortunate thing when your mom passed, but when my grandma passed, there was some things. First off, I found her, so that
Oh,
it was, but it felt like I was planned. They always say that you come to life and you plan your
yeah,
events, your
yeah,
hardships, even, and stuff like
yeah.
that, which, is another mindset.
Mm-hmm.
If you think your enemy is your greatest lesson, maybe, I don't know. But it's kind of hard to think as humans like that. But it felt planned. I walked into my parents' house and the phone was ringing and they were nowhere to be found. And I'm like, this is strange. So I pick up the phone and it's my Aunt Debbie from Cincinnati. And she's like, Russell, you have to go check on grandma. She called her every day. So I was like, okay, I'll just hang up and I'll call. Didn't see my parents. I was like, well, I'm just not even going to say anything. I'll get in my car and leave. So I went over there. As I approached the house and as I opened the door, I just knew that she wasn't. I just knew that. And I even knew that it was my duty.
Mm.
Like, I don't think my dad could have handled it, or,
Yeah.
my mom or anybody else. And, so I walked in there, and sure enough, she was just sleeping in her bed, and she was just passed. And my aunt called and let me talk to my mommy, and turned. It was sad. I didn't know what to say. Your mom can't come to the phone. It was sad. So, but after she passed, there was several things that happened. Number one, when they were cleaning the house, there was a stove they had for like 40, 50 years that had a broken clock. And guess what? That clock started up. Kid you not. We had rings at mom and dad's house for ringtone from her house, like a day later. There was nobody in the house. The house was locked.
Wow.
They called TSC to verify the number, and there was some glitch, but it was there now. It was her calling. My mom lost an earring that Christmas before she passed. Oddly enough, January 5th, the same day as the house fire.
Mm.
So it was a bad day that day, all the way around. So she lost an earring that Christmas. She went out to her car, and sitting right by her car was that earring. So there was several strange things. And I remember when our grandma passed, Grandma Lena, and my mom, this wasn't a firsthand thing, but they heard the door open up several times in their house and heard footsteps. Thought it was me. Said, Russ, hey, Russ. Door was locked. So, and that was right after she passed too. Yeah, so there's been some crazy experiences like that I
And
can't
didn't you have somebody, a psychic it was, somehow reach out to our grandpa?
Oh, yeah, I did. Her name is Michelle Claire, and I heard her on Coast. And what really drawn me to her was because she took random, calls as they do. And this guy called up about his dead son, his deceased son. Can you tell me anything about him? And she said, yeah, I see him. He's not alone. He's with a girl. And the guy flipped out because they committed suicide together, a girl.
Oh,
Yeah.
ooh, I got chills
So
from
I was
that.
like,
Ugh.
well, I'm going to get a hold of
Ah,
her.
yeah.
So, and she did a reading for me. It was a kind of a small little session Zoom thing, and yeah, she said Grandpa Barnhart, but she didn't say the name. She just said we have a male, presence. First she asked if my dad was gone, and he's still alive, and she said, well, it's a grandfather. He wants to let you know that he's the one that smoked. And I'm like, well, okay. A lot of people smoked back in the day, So
Yeah, they
I
did.
was
Our
like,
whole family did.
right, exactly. I mean, that
Big
was
70s ashtrays and that.
right, smoke on planes and everything.
Right.
So, but yeah, but then the other grandpa came through, and she was like, it's a double name, like your name's the same as his. And I'm like, because my dad's Junior, Renee Jr. And she was like, she was like, well, this is just to tell the difference. The one smoked and the one has the same name. And I'm like, so she's
Wow.
really, I think she's the real deal for sure.
Oh,
So
I might want to
Michelle
get in touch
Claire.
with her. Michelle
Yeah.
Claire.
Michelle Claire, she's on YouTube, and I can send you her contact stuff.
Oh, yeah. Maybe I'll have her on.
Yeah,
That'd be
definitely.
cool.
We did another session, and I had it my analytical mind going. I asked if I had any friends that passed in high school because I had several that did. I mean, various reasons. So this one came through with a loud laugh, and it just didn't click with me until after. So I sent you a picture of what appeared on my phone after he died. I kid you not. I have no idea how it happened, but it's a calendar picture. His name was Steve. He was a drummer, excuse me, that we used to play with. Um, and he passed because of COVID. Unfortunately, he had kind of a medical cough and stuff before he got COVID. So they put him, he passed with that. But as soon as he passed, roughly about a month later or so, I looked on my calendar, which I have all these stuff I had on my Google Calendar, and all of a sudden I saw his name all the way through the month, and I sent you the screenshot of it.
Yeah.
It said Steve Sin Buddy, and I'm like, I don't know. That was really spooky to me that he said Sin Buddy, and it was only until this week I shared it with a friend, and he said that he thinks it says Steve's in Buddy.
Whoa. I mean, that's a way to look at it. Gosh.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are
That's
some very spooky little things that.
Well,
And something about,
I feel left out. I haven't really had any. I haven't really
oh,
had any. I had a couple things happen. Like when I was a
what
kid,
you, yeah,
I,
what,
I had one thing happen. This is so like benign, but it was real.
yeah,
And I remember being, I think it was second grade, and I had a dream that
second,
we had that I went to school and they told me that we're gonna have a pet. And we're gonna have a pet in school. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I was petting something furry, and then I go to school, right? But that day, go into my second grade classroom, and the teacher had announced, hey class, we're going to have a class pet, and it was a hamster or something. And she's like, and
really,
each week or something we're going to pick someone who's going to be in charge of taking care of it. And at the time my last name was Bowersock, and so it started with B.
uh-huh.
They went alphabetically,
Oh my
so
gosh.
I went first, and she's like, so you were going to be able to like take care of the pet. And I'm like, what? This is like weird because
It
I
is
totally had
crazy.
that dream, but like
Precog.
I thought that was really weird. That stuck with me forever. I was always
Yes.
like,
Well,
how'd that happen?
that's precognition. Yeah. You knew that was coming. And that's the same with the house fire, sort of. I mean, it happened, but I've had some psychic things too, like where, yeah, where I think of things and people will answer it. Like,
Ooh.
I mean, my buddies, or even on a call, they'll be like, I was thinking about something and I just thought about it in my mind, and they were like, answered me. And I'm like, wow. The biggest time I can say that I ever had this, and this was a two-way conversation with a little girl named Mallory. And we were babysitting her, my wife at the time. And we went to the doctor's office. It was in the morning and I was sleeping, and I almost was kind of in and out of falling asleep there waiting on the doctor. So I think that's when your brain waves are going, and that's the opportunity. And I heard her say, I'm hungry. And I said, what? We just had breakfast. You can't be hungry. She's like, I want to eat. And I kind of woke. I said, no, we're not going to eat just yet. And I woke up like that. And I was like, wait. I looked at my, I was kind of sleeping. She was looking at me smiling. And I said to my wife, did I say anything? She's like, no. And I'm like, did Mallory say anything? She's like, no. And this girl's smiling bigger. And I'm like, did you ask to eat? And she's like, and I said, how'd you do that? And she, kid you not, touched my forehead right here.
Oh, that's wow. Okay.
Only happened once. I've never had a two-way,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was crazy for
That is
sure.
crazy. Yeah, there's so many strange things that people go through in their
Yeah.
life that just remains unexplained. And I think it's
Yeah.
weird how people just
I,
can sometimes dismiss it.
well, that's it. They have to, I think it happens to all of us, but you have to be open-minded and aware. You have to really, just be aware of your surroundings. And, it's like looking up, how many people look up, when you walk outside, it's like,
True.
I think, like you said, I think it happens to most of us, but people brush it off, or they don't think of anything, but I
Maybe
write
that
it down.
yeah, well, that's a good practice
Yeah.
to have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and maybe that's why a lot of kids are open to those experiences. They're just so open-minded and just so, you know,
Right.
available for that energy to pass through. But
I mean, they just live it, because there's a line in magic too from one of my mentors that says magic isn't for kids. They already have enough mysteries.
wow,
It's
yeah,
really like that.
that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Because yeah, no, I love that. I love that quote, and it's
Yeah.
very true.
Thanks,
Um,
mate.
yeah, so that's so I can't help but think that you have some sort of I don't want to say a generational curse. I guess it would depend on how you look at it, but I think you're making the
Right.
best of it because, instead of
Right.
being too scared, it's like you're studying it and trying to learn from it and see what can happen. But yeah, that's amazing. I have not seen I did see I saw like a UFO once, okay, but it
Did
wasn't
you?
I did, but I don't know. See, that's the thing is like I just can't believe what I saw. We were driving and it was in the boondocks. It was in this place called Middlefield, Ohio. It's where the bunch of Amish are. So there's not even telephone lines. It's just really, it's out there. And driving. In the middle of this, there was a little tiny clearing in this huge field. And there
Mhm.
was this thing. I don't know what it was. I have no idea what it was. This is why I don't know. It's definitely a UFO because I have no
Yeah.
idea
Yeah, it's
what
just
it is.
unidentified. Yeah.
It was black. It was oddly shaped, like it shouldn't have been aerodynamic at all. And it
Yeah.
was like just weirdly, quietly hovering, like existing over this field, this empty field, big field. And
Yeah.
the way I'm driving, and I remember I'm looking, I'm like, what is this? What is this? And um it started going toward the stand of trees. And so we're like, we drive around it and then trying to like follow this thing, but then it's gone. And
Oh,
I was just stunned. I couldn't even get and this is one of those moments where everybody has this moment where it's like,
yeah.
why didn't I film it? It's because I was
Yeah, because you're so stunned,
I was like, what is this? And I just kept thinking, this is not like from space. This isn't a thing. I can't be seeing this. This isn't real. I don't see things. What is this? Definitely a UFO because I just still don't know what it was. But there's a lot of things I've looked up and not known what it was, but not really it
Yeah.
affected me. It's just like, oh, I wonder what that was. This thing was a thing. I don't even know what it
Wow.
was. It was black and to this day I think, well, maybe it was just some kid's drone or something, but like it was
Yeah.
pretty big and it did just
Right.
disappear. Like I have no idea. I have no
That's
idea what
strange.
to make of that, but it was so weird. And I don't even really often tell the story because I just don't know what to make of it. You
Yeah.
know, I can't go out confidently and be like, I had a UFO experience because I don't
Yeah.
know what I saw, but I know it was
Right.
so
But you
weird.
saw something,
I saw something and it actually bothered me because it
Yeah.
was so weird that I just was stunned. And I'll admit this, all I kept
Yeah.
saying on air, like I'll say this on air, all I
Yeah.
kept saying out loud, and this is held over my head to this day. It's called my holy shit moment because I looked at it and my jaw dropped and I go, holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy, that's
Right.
all I could say because I
Oh,
was just stunned. And
yeah.
so yeah, that's
Jeez.
what's sometimes
That's
referred to as my holy shit
crazy.
moment. And
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of it.
Was it
I
square or like a
actually, yeah, it was
cigar
kind
shape?
not cigar shaped. It was like weirdly geometrically shaped, like it shouldn't be. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't an organic shape necessarily.
I mean, you've heard of
I
those
don't know.
the
It was
cities in the sky, and I mean, all kinds of
it kind
weird,
of was like that.
weird things.
Yeah, yeah, it was kind of like that, but it was all black, kind of
Mm.
matte finish that wasn't glossy or
Ooh,
anything like that.
wow,
And
yeah,
it didn't look right because it did not look like in any way it should have been in the air, like given its shape. I was like, what
sure.
is that? And it was big. And then it moved toward me,
Ooh,
like in the car, in like in a weird way. And I was like, but yeah, it just really bothered me because I don't know what to make of it. I have no idea what to make of it. And I think sometimes because of the distance it was maybe out in the boondocks, maybe there was somebody experimenting with some kind of thing, or maybe it's some, I have no idea. But um yeah, it was weird.
that
I
is
don't know
weird.
what to
We
make of it.
talk about drones a few times. One of my time, my brother and my bass player guy was over, and we walked out. It was about 11 o'clock in Wapak, and we heard this fluttering sound. It sounded like birds, and it was 11 o'clock at night. I'm like, what the heck? I look up and I saw this little device, and it was like having a hard time flying. And there was a little light bulb on it that was like a 25 water that was kind of going in and out, and it looked like rustic metal. And this was before they had drones and this. And I was like, I think it was listening. And I talked to one of my friends, John Beck. His dad was sheriff in Allen County area. He said, oh yeah, Allen County always like their toys, so I think they were, there was some pre-drone thing they were testing out, and I have seen a little bit of UFO stuff though. Like I saw this one that it was up in Toledo and it looked like a flock of birds. So I think it was kind of almost resembling, I think it can resemble things. I've heard that UFOs turn sideways and look like the moon. And so I think, and the reason I say that because it was a flock of birds, but on the outside was a small pattern of like almost like an octagon, but it looked like clouds. So it kind of, but it was off center, it was like, trying to blend an object with another object, and it just didn't look right. You could still see an octagon. It wasn't that good,
Mm.
but inside was bird, like maybe an image of birds. And what it did was it fell to the ground, but like a leaf, and it did like this, like that. And I was like, what? And later in life, and I got a big, metaphysical type books and stuff. There was sure enough was a UFO that's drawing that said sometimes UFOs like will land that way, like a falling leaf. And so I
Wow.
had no idea what it was, but it definitely was something unexplained and unidentified for sure. And then
Well, I think it's more and more people are comfortable talking about these things. We see all this
I
disclosure
think
now
so.
happening, and
Yeah.
what do you make of that? Do you believe in some of the
Yeah.
efforts currently? Do you believe
Yeah.
Grush, and do you believe in some of that?
I believe it's a soft disclosure for sure. I mean, I
Okay.
think, just even the sci-fi from the 50s on, they're kind of a lot of like Star Trek, the originals.
Hmm.
They utilized ideas that they knew about, I think, and learned from aliens, and they kind of, they want to slowly put it out there so people have reference, so when it does become known, that they'll have something to refer to, and it won't be so abnormal to them. But
Hmm.
I don't know, as far as will they ever come out and say, I think it's going to be more of a grassroots level of kind of what, Greer's doing
Hmm.
with this, that's what is it, CS5 or whatever, where he's like actually communicating with them and stuff. I really, I question even our existence of where we're at, I don't think they're coming from outer space. I really don't. I mean, maybe
I
some
agree.
do, but I mean, I think, I think, there's a lot of things that we need to know. And I think Antarctica is definitely a good spot. It bothers me that there's a place, a treaty that all the governments of the world agree on. Hello. Nobody agrees on anything, but they agree on
Right.
that. I don't
Yeah.
get it.
I don't get it either. I just started looking into that a little more. I have a good friend, Mike Ricksecker. Shout out to him. He's been doing a lot in that realm. I just met with him today. He's local. We had
Right.
coffee and we were talking about all this. And
Awesome.
yeah, his work in Antarctica, I recommend it to anybody. He'll be on the show soon talking about that. But yeah, I had no idea. I had no idea how all the different stories about there possibly being
Huge.
pyramids up there, and
Yeah.
you
And
know i- it's fascinating, and you make a great point though, like how is it that we're not able to agree on anything, but we're going to agree on that?
yeah, for 50 years and something. It's crazy.
Yeah, so something's definitely going on there.
Yeah.
They know something and they're not telling us. I don't know if it has to do with disclosure necessarily, but it could. But I sometimes wonder too if they're aware of an impending cataclysm, maybe, like something cyclical that happens every so
12th,
often.
12th planet thing every 3,600 years.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, I've
Oh,
seen some documents that talk about that, and I've heard a
wow.
couple things, and so I don't know. I don't know.
It
Yeah.
is amazing stuff. I mean, prove them
Yeah.
wrong, it's those
Yeah,
astronauts get so mad and
they do. They do. And you live in
I
Wapakoneta, and
do, Neil Armstrong.
that is the home. Yeah. So you know about those astronauts. That's so cool.
And he never
They have
came
a
back.
museum up there.
Yeah, they did. Yeah. He never
Yeah.
came back to town though, unfortunately.
Never come
They
back
had
out to.
they had parades,
Oh,
the anniversaries.
he has a whole museum for and
I
everything,
know,
and he
yeah.
couldn't have come back for just a little like hometown pride.
They had like, the 50th or whatever, they had, not to talk bad about him. I did talk
Yeah.
to one of his cousins that still lives in Wapak when I was doing a tech job out of high school. And we had the whole, should I say it on the air here, but we had the manhood to send the guy a, a shot that said it was a transcript that said, that it was a hidden. I'm sure you've heard it, the NASA where there's aliens on the moon or whatever. And
Hmm.
so, anyways, we sent him. He was having problems with his email getting attachments, so we thought that'd be funny to send him a picture to see if he could get it. And I think the call ended pretty quick, but it
Way
was
to
fun.
go.
Well, yeah, right. A hometown boy here.
Right. Yeah, well, that's
But
wild. Yeah, I almost feel like there needs to be some kind of investigation over there in your neck of the woods, because
there
you
should
know,
be. I mean, it's just some pretty spooky stuff going on. And I looked ley line maps, maybe
Yeah,
that's
that's
it. I mean, it
are
does
they?
look like it crosses 75. I mean, from a couple maps that I looked at. So maybe there's some other things. Now, I haven't, be honest with you. I mean, the Steve thing that was a couple years ago on my phone, but other than that, I haven't had too many. Like, it kind of comes and goes. Like this, all that I talked about today was, from the 80s on. So
Mhm.
it's a big list I've kept for many, many years. So it's great that I can actually archive it and share it with you. This is beautiful. But so yeah, it just kind of comes and goes. I can't say that I've had a lot of many psychic things recently, or but my shows, there's always weird things that happen. So you just have to be aware. I think it happens to everybody. You just have to be open-minded and
Yeah. So, in your pursuit of magic, did you ever dabble in like darker arts? Did you ever look into esoterica and different sort of magicians like Eliphas Levi and people like that?
yeah, and a lot of people take the occult, the word, as being so taboo, but it really just means hidden, really.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I have looked up, I've messed with tarot decks, and which is surprisingly, for me anyways, it's surprisingly accurate on certain things, spookily, but nothing really too heavy, nothing like Wicca or anything like that. I've never just used my magic as entertainment and astonishments and so forth. But yeah, I mean, I'm open. I've read about it. I can't say that I don't have books about it, and gemstones, and I'm into the spiritual healing of. I've got essential oils, and I've went to spiritual conventions with my old girlfriends in the past, and so yeah, and I believe the gemstone stuff. I mean, I
It's
really, if
always the
you
girls that drag you out there for the
right,
gemstone, the
right, I
sage.
loved it. I loved it. We took pictures. We had a pictures of our auras, and it was
Oh
really
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
cool.
I've done that. Did you ever sit under one
Yeah.
of those pyramidal structures and like get the healing from it and all that stuff?
No,
Oh,
that
those
sounds
are
really
fun.
cool. I
Yeah,
saw
those,
some guys using big tuning forks and hitting them and putting them up
yeah,
on people.
yeah,
Man, I'd love to experience that. I'll have to go to,
yeah,
I
those
don't
are
know.
fun.
Do you go to any of the, I'm sure you probably
Yeah.
will or
Yeah,
do.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's a lot of fun. I love those things. I don't know what to make of them. I'm kind of again, I'm not really a skeptic per se in that kind of way, but I'm just open-minded and I like to see what's going on and it's just a lot of fun and often I learn things that I didn't even think that I was going to. I think oh, this is
Yeah,
just, silly and then you're like, "Wait a second. This is
right.
pretty interesting. There's something here. Maybe there's something more to it." And you
Yeah.
get a chance to meet very interesting people.
Yeah.
I love the
Very.
people that go to those because I think we need very creative minded individuals, artists, musicians,
Mhm.
empaths, all of that stuff, because they bring in that extra bit of, interest into the world that
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
need. Otherwise, we just get stuck in these cycles. And yeah, the magic,
Um,
it's good that you've not dabbled in the dark art, so to speak. But
Yeah, I never really have. I mean, I can't say that I've not tried one or two little things yet,
I think we all have as kids, we kind of, do that.
yeah.
I'm going to cast a spell or something.
Yes, exactly. And it
Yeah.
just doesn't really transcribe to anything.
No, and then it gets weird. I mean, it
Yeah,
like
it does.
does. It's like all the
Uh,
like especially with Wicca, and no offense to any Wiccans,
sure.
I
Yeah,
love
no.
Wiccans. It's like everybody has their own path. But some of that stuff, if you're raised in a more conventional religious framework or something, it looks a little like strange. Like,
Yeah, right.
we
Altars
have
and stuff.
yeah, we have in the Cleveland area, there is the official like Buckland Witchcraft Museum.
Oh
It's
wow.
yeah, so you blew my mind with the card trick.
Oh, well,
Thank you
that's
for that. That was a
great.
lot of
You're
fun.
very
I
welcome.
want
That
to
was fun.
I want to go to one of your shows. So you have to let me know like where you're performing next and let me know some of your upcoming dates too and we'll put them in the links below and on YouTube
Okay.
and so but I want to have you back on the show. Maybe you could bring
Yeah.
a rabbit. You ever pull a rabbit out of a hat? I love
I
bunnies.
do. I had a
You
rabbit for
really?
many times that I didn't pull it out of my hat though. I do have a little hair up here, but 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 no, I pulled it out of a box. It was a really neat illusion. I mean, the box, without a doubt, I mean, it looked completely empty. And I tell you, you do a magic show, and this was Walpock High School, and it was 400, 500 kids there. It was at the Performing Arts Center. And you do all this stuff, you levitate stuff, you do this magical stuff that you spend a lot of time learning and practicing. Then you pull a bunny out of a box, and that's the show. There,
I could
everybody
imagine.
met the little furry guy, and it was like, okay, wow, really?
Good night, folks.
Yeah, it's like,
Right.
geez,
Oh wow. Yeah,
talk
that's
about
so.
prop magic. It's very similar to that. I mean, literally, but
That's
it's
so
like,
cool.
yeah, music's the same way. Like, at one time I had a dream about my girlfriend, and I haven't seen her for like 20 years, and she was like, in my dream, it was, I dreamt of her, and she texted me the next day. I kid you not, it was
Oh
like 20
wow.
years. And she said, "Do you ever think of me?" And I was like,
As a
I
matter of
almost
fact.
thought, well, yeah, and I almost
Yeah.
thought that it was like she was doing some black magic, like you said.
Yeah.
I'm like, so I wrote back to play with her. I'm like, why would you ask a question you already know?
Oh
And so then the song "Do You" came out, and maybe it'd be nice to play it at the end here, but
yeah.
yeah, and those lyrics just folded out, and that music just created itself, and the lyrics were literally the text messages almost. And it was a great song, and it's that was kind of magic in itself, so it's very similar to music, and magic's really a close, astonishing level. It's just, you could, with music, you can buy an instrument, and how the instrument works, and you practice it, and you play it, and everyone knows how that works. With magic, it's a little bit more gray area, and that's what I like to, is it real? Perhaps,
Yeah.
sometimes I just walk away when I do it, and just
Ah.
don't say anything, let them stew on it. So it's always neat.
Oh, that's so fun. Yeah, well, we'll definitely play that out, and because everybody has to
Awesome.
hear how great you're a musician. You're a very talented, multi-talented
Yeah.
person, absolutely magical in every
As
sense of
you
the
are,
word. Oh, thank you.
great family ties.
It runs in the family.
Right, it does.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I want to thank you so much for coming on, and I want
Thanks
you to
for
please,
having me. It was a
please
great
come back.
time.
Please
I
come back
will.
for more magic tricks. So you got to have more
Definitely.
magic.
Yeah,
Okay.
we will. We definitely will.
Awesome. And I want to hear more. Like, I think I want to try to get you connected with some people who may come out and investigate the local area, because
That'd
you
be
really have me
awesome.
thinking it's like a Western Ohio Skinwalker Ranch thing going
Yeah,
on.
I've always thought that. So I've
Yeah.
got pinpoints on maps. We can make it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you
Thank
coming
you so
on.
much. Sounds great. Thanks for having me. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Do you have a website?
I do. Magic Russo, RUSSO.com is my name. My grandpa gave me when I was 6 months old. Now he passed. I never got to meet him, but so I use, because they can't spell Jeanneret. So so it's just magic RUSSO.com is my website, and Euphoria band. I have several of those links out there that I kind of link up, and on Reverb Nation and so forth. I have a couple other things out there that we can't discuss right now because of trademark things, but it's very exciting stuff. So I can't wait.
You'll have to come back and talk about that when you're ready.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll put the links below, and so everybody can find you. And thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's been good talking to you.
So much.